All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to Aldine Live. This session is the Flipgrid Walk. You have the presentation here that you can look over on your own. I'm not going to go through the slides. I'm actually going to flip over to Flipgrid and kind of show you how to work with Flipgrid to get started. Again, if you are looking for more advanced details or more advanced features, you can jump over to Flipgrid Run. That presentation will provide you that information. Okay, so here I am on Flipgrid. Very easy to sign in. You do not have to create an account. Just a heads up. All you have to do is log in with your Google account. So what you do is you go to Educator Login. Okay, you're going to use your Google login information, and FYI, please use your Aldine account. Do not use your personal account. I know some of us have it, but don't use it. And the reason for that is just it's going to be easier to manage if you're using your Aldine account. So we'll click on my account for Aldine ISD. And the good thing is once you sign in with your Aldine account, you don't have to do anything else. Everything kind of puts itself in place, right? So what we have here is where we start. This is our home page, our landing page. We call this My Grids. Now, I want you to understand two big concepts of this training. One are grids. The second is topics, okay? Now, if you are a teacher that has multiple classes, every single class you have, you're gonna create a grid, okay? Now, the question is, do I do my recordings in my grid? The answer is yes, but not at this level. This is kind of where you're organizing your classes in order for you to start working with topics where students will start recording, okay? So let me show you what I'm talking about. So what I'm gonna do is, if you can see right here, I'm gonna go ahead and add my grid. So just click Add New Grid, very straightforward. And then this is the key right here, is naming your grid. So based on whatever grade level you teach, some of you, I know at the elementary have 2 classes, middle may have 6, 5 to 7, and high school the same, right? So just be sure that you're labeling, in my opinion, label your classes based on how they appear in Schoology, right? Easiest way to manage all the links you're going to be creating for those of you that have multiple classes. Now, if you are a teacher that has 1 or 2 classes, it's going to be a lot easier. You just put the name of the homeroom the students belong in, and that's how you can differentiate which class is which. Okay. But for this training purpose, I'm going to go ahead and label my class first period, right? Now, if your first period has an A or B day, make sure you differentiate for that too. The key here is being organized as you are creating your grids. So for this, we'll just go ahead and put A day, right? And the next key to all of this is you're going to ask yourself, well, do I have to create student accounts? Do I have to set up their name? Do they have to sign up? The answer is no, if you do it the way I'm about to show you. And that way is clicking on school email, right? You click on school email. What this means is that when students log into their device, which they use their Aldine accounts already, Aldine ISD accounts, they just have to simply click on it and then they sign in, just similar to what we did when we logged into Flipgrid. So keep that in mind. But there is an important aspect to make sure that they get in correctly, and I'll show you what that is next. So school email, the flip code, you can change it to whatever you want, but my opinion, I wouldn't mess with it, right? Just keep it based on default. It's not going to make the world a difference in terms of organization. Remember, that was here in the grid name. Okay, so we click the next button. And then here's where I'm talking about in terms of importance of setting up your grid. You will notice that you can add school emails. You'll notice that our email ending is, or domain is like we like to call it, is Aldine ISD. What we need to ensure is that we're adding the student domain ending, right? So that is aldine-isd.org. Now, your question may be, well, they don't have email access. Can they get in? The answer is yes, they can still get in because they're using their account. Now, the reason we do it this way, or the way we're doing it right now, is because the system is going to recognize that domain when they are signing in. If you do not put this domain in, which is the student domain, they cannot respond to anything on Flipgrid. You're going to find a lot of issues. So ensure that you are adding the student ending domain for their school email. Once you've done that, you click enter. Notice a blue box will appear, right? Just like that. And we are ready to go. We click next. And now we have a grid link, okay? Remember, we're going to use this grid link to add it into Schoology, but we're not ready for it yet. We're going to go ahead and jump into the grid so we can create our topic. So what we do is we go ahead and click on go to your grid, okay? And here's my grid, right? Remember, we named it first period A day, right? And what happens is when you create a new grid, you get a new topic that usually by default is called Say Hello on Flipgrid, right? Now the question is, do I have to use it? The answer is no, you can delete it whenever you want. So what we do is we go to Actions. I'll go ahead and zoom in so you can see this and click on Delete Topic, right? If I don't want that topic, it says Say Hello on Flipgrid. Will it delete? Yes, you want to delete topic and videos, and then you delete it, right? And now it's gone. But we still need a topic so that students can start responding to whatever it is you're asking them to do. So what we need to do in this instance is click on Add New Topic right there. Okay, and here are a few things that we're going to go over. This is kind of this important aspect of what we're asking students to do when we're setting up our topic. So for example, I'm going to use science, right? I'll title it water cycle, right? And in the prompt, I can ask the students to do a variety of different things. That's up to me as the instructor. I can ask them to diagram the water cycle. I can ask them to describe the water cycle, or I can ask them to draw the water cycle. Just a different set of ideas you can use in terms of setting up this topic. So I'll just go ahead and do this. I will say, describe the water cycle. Let me zoom in so you can see this. Describe the water cycle in the correct order, right? Now, I don't want to make this simple, especially for those that are in the older grade levels. Obviously, you're going to make a prompt based on the difficulty and the challenge you want to provide for the students. So this is a video response tool, but remember, you still want to provide them that challenge in order for them to just to be able to explain their learning to you or demonstrate their learning. That's the key to this tool that we are using right now. Okay. The next thing is recording time. So by default, you get 90 seconds, all right? But you are able to change that from anywhere to the shortest time, which is 15 seconds, all the way to 10 minutes, okay? But keep in mind that whatever time you decide to use, that if a student doesn't meet that time frame, if he goes over, the video won't record. So keep that in mind as you're deciding how much time the student should get, okay? The next thing is video moderation. This is what this means is that as students are posting, you as a teacher have to decide whether the video is good or not, okay? And this is something you're going to decide based on your students, right? If you feel that your students are going to post something inappropriate or not take it serious, you might want to turn it on in order for other students not to see it until you approve it. So that's what video moderation means, that you approve them whenever they're posting, okay? Here on Focus, the only thing that we would focus on, especially at this level, I know you see a ton of tools here and you can explore them on your own, but this is the upload image. Now, what the upload image does is it changes the image for the topic, and I'll show you where that goes in a second. But simply, if you have a specific image for your course, so it could be a course label or something specific to your class, this is where you would change it, upload image. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're not going to create the topic yet. We're just going to go ahead and click more options. And here are a few things that you can do. You can add video links, you can add document links, and these are things that you're going to use in terms of an extension of what you're trying to get them to do with this, or have them watch something and probably respond to it, right? Again, this is wide open, so the ideas can be unlimited. So just kind of decide how you want to do that. So you put that URL in, You add the title for it, and then when the student is responding to the video, they will have access to the link to watch or view or even look at first, and then they can respond through the video feature of Flipgrid. Okay. Next thing is topic status. There are only 3 statuses. By default, active means students can respond no matter what, as many times as they want. If it is frozen, that means that students can only view videos that have been posted, but they cannot respond. And then last is hidden. Hidden means they cannot respond, they cannot see any of the videos. So just keep that in mind as you're setting up each of your topics. Now, the launch and freeze dates. If you are setting topics ahead of time, you can do that. You can go ahead and click on the chart in terms of when you want to start it, right? If you don't want to put a freeze date, meaning this is the last day you can respond to it, then what happens is, let's say I want to start on July 29th, right? Or it's scheduled to be only active for 2 days, but I don't want to do that. The only thing I want to do is just leave it alone, exit out, and then you saw how what I did here is I just clicked the backspace button and it clicks never. So that means that there is no stop date. That means they can continue to respond. However, the active date is today. So they can start responding today and until I decide to stop taking responses. Okay. Some other tools. All of these here are just by default. If you're going to think in terms of working with Flipgrid in more detail, you can manipulate these, but my honest opinion for those that are just starting with Flipgrid, don't mess with them. Just leave them alone as they are by default. And then lastly, something to think about down the road as you're working with feedback. By default, Flipgrid gives you basic feedback, ideas and performance, and I'll show you what they look like in a second. But if you're looking to be more detailed and more advanced in how you're setting up your feedback, you can do that by adding different rubrics based on TEKS that you're using for whatever subject you're teaching or topic you're teaching at that time. So you would click custom feedback, and then as you see here, you would add criteria and go from there. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and create the topic right here at the bottom right corner, click the red button. Okay. Notice that we have a topic link, right? This link you will never post on Schoology. All right. The reason being is because if I post only topic links, that means that every time I post a new topic, I have to post it in Schoology, and that may prove to be too much, right? Remember a few minutes ago, I said, remember the grid link. If I put the grid link on Schoology, that means anytime I add a new topic on Flipgrid, they're going to see it when they log into Flipgrid on Schoology. Okay, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I'll just go ahead and click X. All right, and here's what I was talking about. Remember when we were going through our setup where you upload an image? The upload an image would be right here. So any image you want to use, if it's specific to the topic, that's where it would go. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go back one level, and this is to our grid level. If you want to change the image here, you have the ability to do so by going to Actions, right? And you're going to click on Edit Grid. And what you would do is you'd scroll down and then you would personalize it. So personalize means you can upload your own image or you can use images that are provided by Flipgrid. So I'll click on the nice lady with a book, click Update Grid, and there's the magic. Okay, so students would see the grid image for their class, and then you would see the image you uploaded for the topic. So 2 things to think about in terms of, especially those of you that may be at the lower grade levels, that students need more specific images to be able to determine what to do. Those are considerations to think about when you're setting up your grids and topics. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add a quick topic real here fast. Just I'm going to go ahead and name it test 2. And the reason I'm doing it quickly is because I want to show you what it looks like on Schoology when I set up multiple topics, when I add the grid to Schoology. Okay, so I'm going to go, here you go. I'm going to go back one level to the grid. Okay, Notice I have two topics, right? And what I want to do now is I need the code for my grid. So what I'm gonna do, oops, I'm gonna go back. I have to go back one level. So I'm gonna go to my grids right here on the top left corner. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click the share button, right? And this is for the grid I've created. When I click share, remember this is what we started, and I'm gonna go ahead and click copy. Okay, now we've set up everything in Flipgrid with what we want the students to respond to. Now the key here is going to be actually adding it to Schoology. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of speed forward into Schoology. So what you're looking at right now is my Schoology course. Okay. For you, you're going to place it in the course that corresponds to the grid you created. So the way to do this is I'm going to click Add Materials. Okay. I'm going to click Add File. I'm going to scroll in. This will be easier. Add Materials, Add File / Link External Tool. All right. And you notice I'm going to click on the link. Okay. I'm going to embed that link I just copied. There you go. See Flipgrid. And then there's the grid I created. And then you notice I'm renaming it exactly the same way I named it in Flipgrid. And I'm going to click Add. Okay, so what now happens is when students jump into Schoology, they're going to see the Flipgrid you created. They click on it, okay, and this is what they're going to see. Now, what they would do is they click Login with Google, okay. They would see their student account just like you see mine. They click on it, okay, and then there it is. So what we saw on Flipgrid is what they would see here in Schoology. And remember I told you about adding topics. So what they would do is they could either flip to the second one I created or create the one for the water cycle. Okay. Now the next thing will be them responding. So the way they do this is they just click on the big green plus icon, and hopefully this works. This may not work for my computer because it likes to be funny. Okay, so it's not working for me, but it will work for the students. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and flip back to Flipgrid, and I'm going to click on the topic. And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate to you how the students would record their response. So what I do is I click Record a Response. Okay, hopefully you can see me here on the screen. Just a few items to think about as students are responding to the topic is there's a timer right here on the top right corner. Here is the topic. So if you notice, you don't see where the topic shows what they're responding to. They simply click on it, and there it is. Describe the water cycle in the correct order. The other item are sticky notes. So if they want to maintain eye contact with the screen, they click on sticky notes here, and then they can add notes for water cycle. So that just kind of gives them an idea. This will not appear on the recording as they are doing their response. This is just for them to be able to kind of outline what they want to say. But if they're not comfortable with all that, then they don't need to use. It's not required to be used. Okay. Few tools. They have filters. I can change colors. I can be pixelated just like that. And if I'm no longer needing to use a filter, I just click on the X. Now, I do want to make mention that if students click record and are using these tools, the timer still runs. So if they're looking to set up their filters or text or stickers or anything they use down below, they need to have that set up before they start record because time goes quickly when using Flipgrid. And I can assure you that they will run out of time if they're messing around with the tools. Okay, the next one is text. Right, just like that. And then you can move it around. You can make it bigger, just like that, simple. And it stays there. Notice I can then add stickers. A student doesn't feel comfortable showing themselves just like that, they can just put a big O emoji on their face and not show themselves, right? And then if they want to use the drawing tool, if they have a touchscreen device such as a mobile device, and we'll talk about what each of those devices look like when using Flipgrid. But what I'm saying is this right here. You notice I'm using the touch part of my screen just to kind of play around with all that. Okay. Now you're like, wow, that's really messy. How can I get rid of that real quick? Very simple. You just go to clear and it's gone. Okay. The other thing is if they're not comfortable showing their face, just like you see mine, they can use the whiteboard or the blackboard, right? Just like that. So I'm going to click on the whiteboard and you can still hear me talking and the student can still use the touch features of their device or even the mouse. So here's me using the mouse. Not as accurate as me touching the screen, but it still gets the job done, which is important, right? So think about that. If you have students that may not be as proficient using a mouse, you may want to consider upping the time in order to compensate for that possibility, okay? And then the last thing is they can add images onto their screen as well. So let me clear all this. And then remember to get rid of the board. You click on it again and then click the little not button, as we like to say, and it's all gone. Okay, so let's do some recording. Notice the timer starts, and then here's where I'm going to say my piece, responding to the water cycle. If I want to add text, I can do that as I am recording. But remember, if a student is not as comfortable using this portion of the tools, then you notice how time goes by. All right, here's one thing I want you to notice. I just stopped it, right? Notice that I have 1 minute and 9 seconds left on the clock. I can continue to add stuff if I need to take a pause, right? And then I can hit record and continue on with my response. So this is another good tool feature within Flipgrid that allows students to kind of pause for a minute, reassess what they need to say, and then continue, as opposed to them having to restart again. Now, if they want to restart again, they just click on redo and then it resets everything, time included. Now, the last thing is we're going to click the next button. Okay, so you just see me, and you notice down here, there's this toolbar. And the good thing is that if there are parts of the video that the student does not like, they can trim it. But you notice, I'm just kind of going through this real quick. You notice everything that I did in that 29 seconds of my recording, I showed you as I was demonstrating it, and then you see here on the response. Now, if the student feels comfortable with their response, they click confirm. They click add, right? And then they can take a selfie, or if they don't feel comfortable taking a selfie, they can use the whiteboard. They can write their name, right? And then they take a picture. They click next. Okay, and then their display name will show up by default. They do not need to add a title or link. They submit the video. And now the video has been posted. They'll click complete. Okay, and there it is. There's that video. And what you would do is, as you're seeing your students click on their responses, here's where they can see, or the teacher, you would see the response to the student, right? And here's what I'm talking about as far as feedback. So you see here the grading rubric, if we wanted to give them a grade. So for ideas, I gave them a 3, another 3. Great job with the response. You hit all the important ideas, right? Something like that. And when the student logs in to see their dashboard, they're going to see this as well in terms of what you've given them for feedback. And then, unfortunately, you cannot email them feedback because they don't have access to email, at least from the pre-K to 8th grade level, but when they log into their Flipgrid, they'll be able to see it from there. So that's one thing to keep in mind as you're working with Flipgrid. So I'm done all that, and now I click X. Okay, notice right there, there's a 6 out of 10 for the feedback on top of the score, and that is pretty much it with using Flipgrid, right? So one last thing is I'm going to go up here, and this is something that we experienced toward the end of the year, and this is devices, right? So if a student does not have access to a Chromebook or a laptop, I put these two items on here that are very important if a student is using either of these devices for the beginning of the school year when you're setting this up. So for iPhones, using Schoology with a web browser works. So you cannot use the app for some reason, it doesn't work well. So what they have to do is they get on Schoology using their web browser, right? And then they access the Flipgrid link from there. On an Android, the Flipgrid app works within Schoology. So they use the Schoology app and then they use the Flipgrid link in Schoology and it works well. So let me repeat this. On iPhones, you cannot use the Schoology app to respond to Flipgrid. You have to be on the web browser. On an Android phone, they can use the Schoology app and respond to Flipgrid from there. So those are two key important points in terms of mobile device usage, right? The other thing that I posted was a web page for those that may be camera shy, right? If they're not comfortable showing their face or don't want anybody to see their background, you did see how I demonstrated to you using the whiteboard. And also this provides you tips on how to keep it private for them to not be able to feel embarrassed about wherever they may be recording, because that's important. And then lastly, how to make student videos private, another key aspect in setting up your Flipgrid and working with it throughout the year. And almost last thing is here's some how-to videos on everything that we did today, just in case I may have gone too fast or you might have missed a point or you jumped on late, which is perfectly fine. Just follow these videos to show you how to use it. And as always, the Flipgrid Help Center is great in case I may have missed something or you feel like you want to explore something else in depth. Simply, all you have to do is look up whatever it is you're deciding to be investigate more, and Flipgrid Help Center usually gives you the answer. Okay. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording.